Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Horror Coast to Coast.
Welcome to Horror Coast to Coast, where we review horror movies from opposite sides of the continental U.S. Googling the curse in Massachusetts, I'm Brian.
And wondering who they could throw at us that's possibly any worse than Mika. In California, I'm Michelle.
And this week we reviewed Paranormal Activity 2 from 2010, directed by Todd Williams.
A family sets up security cameras around their home, only to realize that the events unfolding before them are more sinister than they seem.
That's probably going to be every movie in this franchise.
For sure. Of which there are like 7.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I thought it was just 1 through 4. And I actually thought 4 was the marked ones, but that's not the marked ones. The marked ones is a separate movie.
I've got 5 of them.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. And so far you've only watched 1 and 2.
Yes.
Alrighty.
So again, we open with the thing saying like thank you to the families of the deceased and the Carlsbad Police Department.
Right.
And it's Paramount thanking them, which I think is kind of funny that it's like Paramount is apparently showing us real murders.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's funny.
Just real uncensored murders. Thanks, Paramount. Like, you think found footage movie, you kind of think like a file that you like downloaded off the internet or like a VHS you found, but then like they acknowledge it's from Paramount in the part where they say thanks to the police and the dead families. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so that's how we open, and then we cut to a handheld camcorder that's filming a family as they come home with their newborn son.
Yeah. They just had their baby boy Hunter. He's smushy, as their daughter Allie says.
Yeah. And so immediately we've got more characters in the first one because we have the mom, Christy, who's just given birth to Hunter. We have the dad, Daniel, and then we have the daughter we learn later from a previous marriage. So Christy's her stepmom, Allie, and then we have a nanny, Martine.
Yep. And then it's not long before another character shows up who's a bit more familiar, and that's Aunt Katie from the first movie.
Right, and Katie comes in as well later on. But okay, so yeah, this initial video is just their handheld family camera, just kind of getting footage.
Yeah, and they're talking to future Hunter. Like, hey, this is your first day home. Here's your big sister. She's like, what's up, my brother from another mother? And you don't know at this point that they're half siblings. So I thought she was just saying that because it's fun to say.
I did too. Yeah, I thought she was just saying it, and then you realize later.
Because the dad seems real caught off guard. Almost like, what, like mom's cheating on me or something? Like his reaction. Yeah. But no, it makes perfect sense for her to say that.
Yeah. And then you realize he's like, hey, let's not get too real. But yeah, so this little scene, on one hand, I thought kind of went on for too long. But on the other hand, I thought, well, this is a clever way to give like a quick exposition dump and not even real exposition, to sort of set things up, show you who everyone is, show you where we are, set the scene, right? Because at this point, when you go from a movie like the first movie to this movie, you're always wondering, whenever I see found footage, I mean, I guess at this point I don't anymore. But originally when I used to watch the early found footage movies, my first thought was, how are they going to incorporate the cameras? Like, how is this going to make sense? And this, I thought, was a really clever way of just saying, okay, they come home with the new baby, and a lot of people record that. So it was I really liked that. That was the way the camera was introduced immediately.
Yeah. And then we get the introduction to why the rest of this movie is going to be filmed, because apparently there's been
Right.
some kind of break-in and the
Yeah.
TV is smashed and the only thing missing is a necklace that
Right.
Katie made for her
And the
sister.
and the other thing is that the scene, I didn't realize it until maybe a couple shots later when I see the baby's older. The There's a huge time gap between when they take the first footage, and then when they have the reason to install the cameras and they get the burglary happens.
Yeah.
Um there's like an entire year in between that, because by the time that happens, the baby's like a year old.
Yeah, and I was really confused about what the purpose of this time jump is, because it doesn't really seem to affect anything other than the
Yeah.
baby
I mean,
being
I
a
guess
year old.
they use the initial shots to establish this is Chrissy. She's the sister of Katie, and she just had a baby.
Yeah,
Right. That's really
I guess they
all you
wanted
get
to
from that.
have their hunter's first day home footage, and then they also wanted to have like a kid who could run around.
Right.
Yeah, because of that break-in, they get cameras set up everywhere. And conveniently for us as viewers, these security cams look a million times better than the handheld cam we were introduced to. So the quality just
Yeah.
jumps up and it looks like a regular movie now.
Yeah. No, it's nice. But I will say we will see the same lighting issues in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. So I don't know if anything really happens to preempt it, but Allie's recording stuff and she sees Martine's like talking to herself, and so she asks her about it and she's like, "What were you doing?" And she's like, "Yeah, I was praying the bad spirits go away and the good ones stay."
Yeah, and it's actually not that confusing what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I felt about the way this scene unfolded, because when she's got the camera on her, first of all, that's weird. You're filming someone without the consent, but whatever. She's got the camera on her, and you can hear her chanting. You can see she crosses herself a few times. You can see that what she's doing is like some little religious ritual, either to make herself feel better or because she thinks she's blessing the house, or what she says, asking for protection from good spirits or whatnot. It's pretty clear. So the fact that she comes in is like, oh my god, why are you laughing, why are you talking to yourself, is very annoying, and like it's just
Yeah.
obnoxious.
It's
But
also like kind of
Martine
out of character
takes it
for
gracefully.
Allie because she's not really like this in any of the rest of the
Yeah.
movie. This is more like a her dad thing, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just her
Yes.
dad's influence.
Hmm. Yeah, no, she's not. And then you get that she's not, because the second Martine starts talking to her, she speaks in Spanish and Allie understands her. And they have a little bit of a back and forth where Martine is talking in Spanish and Allie's responding in English. And there's no language barrier from what I can tell. And you can tell that she's making a real effort to like communicate with her in a way that is comfortable for Martine as well. And I don't know, it just, you're right, it is out of character for
Yeah,
her.
because there's also a scene where they're like hanging out in her room, like talking about her boyfriend and dancing together. So it was
Yeah.
kind of a weird scene to have her like be so confrontational about that. And speaking of weird scenes, the next one is like she's screaming about something upstairs and they go up and it's like in the toilet, it's huge. And then she blames
Yeah.
Martine. Apparently Martine took a massive shit in the toilet and this is a thing we need in this movie.
I was not, yeah, I was confused
What
about that
is
too.
going on?
I was just like, is this just an early jump scare? Is that all it is? Because she
Yeah.
screamed bloody murder. Like that was a real scream. So you're thinking, okay, it's hitting the ground running. Because I mean, I felt like in the first movie, it came pretty quickly. There weren't a lot of like, they're just like fucking around doing nothing interesting, and then we're sitting there waiting and waiting. I thought the
Yeah,
first
because
movie
as
got going
soon
pretty
as
quickly, and
night
so
falls
maybe
in the first movie, we start seeing creepy shit happen. But this one's
right, right. So I
Yeah,
thought that's
this
what was going
one
on
doesn't
here.
really build up as quickly. Like I said, she was chanting to herself, but I didn't see any like supernatural goings on to preempt that. I don't know if there was something subtle, but
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
yeah, so we still haven't really had anything, but we have had
Yeah.
a
Well,
massive shit in the
and
toilet
one
for
thing
some.
I will add, because while I was watching this, it occurred to me that there are a lot of still shots of the kitchen, and it's almost like this psychological effect where you're just expecting something to happen, and so when nothing happens, you start second guessing yourself uh as to whether you missed something, like something happened but I just wasn't paying careful enough attention. Uh so
Well, it's
I
such
don't
a
know.
huge field of view. You don't know where to look because you just have a still camera and like their whole kitchen and like their whole living room. It's all in
Right.
shot, and it's like, okay, where's the creepy shit hiding? It's like,
Exactly.
where's
Exactly.
Waldo? Creepy shit edition.
Yeah, exactly. I definitely had that feeling. I was like, is it in this corner? Is it behind that thing? Like you're searching the screen to see what is about to happen, or if there's going to be a jump scare, if there's something that, a clue that you don't want to miss out on. And so when nothing happens, you're like, okay, I can't imagine that nothing was really happening. So either way, I'm not entirely convinced that nothing was happening. I wonder if there was something happening that we just didn't see. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, so unlike the first movies, all the like establishing shots haven't had dates, which I
Yes.
think is a deliberate choice because we see Katie here and they ask about Mika and she's like, "Oh, he wasn't up to it." And so I'm like, I don't know when this takes place. So I'm like, is this directly after the first movie and she's just
Exactly.
acting normal while Mika's fucking
Right.
dead upstairs in
Yeah.
her house?
And it's not until later that you get that title card that explains it.
Yeah, and then Mika shows up, and it's like this is 60 days before Mika's death. So that's
Yeah.
where we're at right now, is 60 days before the
Yeah. And it's
last shot of the
strategic. I
first
agree with
movie.
you that it's strategic, because that shot where she says, "Oh, he just didn't feel like coming." That's ambiguous, and it's sinister sounding because you remember the last time you saw him and it's not cleared up at that point. So that, I think that tension is meant to be there. And then immediately when you see him, there's an awareness that the viewer is like, hey, he's right there, so now I need to know when the time, you know what I mean? So they don't
Yeah.
they intentionally mislead you, and then the second you realize it, they kind of jump out and they say, oh, no, no, it's 2 months before that happened, so it's okay that he's here, he's not really dead, just kidding.
Yeah, and then going forward, there are dates in the establishing shot. So it's like
Right.
they specifically
Yeah,
withheld it
absolutely.
just to fuck with you. Which, again, like, if you think about this from the perspective that Paramount is like presenting real murders and they're also fucking with you in this way, it's like, damn, Paramount, you're just like evil,
Yeah.
huh?
Well, I mean, a lot of things are called into question if you consider it to be Paramount showing you
Yeah.
real backstory murder footage. But yeah, so okay, then Meek is there and he has you can you can see that he and Katie have clearly been together long enough that he's comfortable with her sister's husband, and Allie. Like they're all just like, oh, it's Mika. Like he's her longtime boyfriend, and he's comfortable enough in their family, which is not something
Yeah.
we knew from the first movie. So that's kind of an interesting expansion of that.
Yeah. And he sees what's the dad's name?
Daniel.
Yeah, he sees Daniel's camera and he gets camera envy, which leads to him buying one for the
Mm,
first movie.
yeah.
And then that night, Martine is like snooping around, like she hears some supernatural stuff going
Yeah.
on, and then she starts like saging the house. And oh, yeah, she hears like a thumping upstairs and she grabs Hunter and she's saging the house.
Oh, yes, she's not snooping around. They go out and they leave her, and
Yeah.
and Allie goes out with her boyfriend, and so Martine is in the house alone with Hunter. And when she starts to hear
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I don't mean she's like snooping nefariously. I just mean like she's like looking for the
Yeah.
source of
Well, yeah,
whatever energy
I
she
just wanted to
senses.
add that because she's not like, like doing her chores and cleaning and stuff, and then she senses things and starts walking around. She's there alone. She has no reason to think anyone else is responsible for making these noises. So her suspicions are reasonable at this point. And she's like, "Oh crap, I'm hearing noises." So she
Yeah.
goes and she grabs the baby.
Yeah, but she's smudging this house with the baby in her hand. And
Mhm.
then they come home and Daniel is like understandably concerned about burning sage inches away from his infant son's face.
Yeah.
But he also just doesn't like witchy shit
Yeah.
apparently, and he shuts that shit down and fires her.
It's I don't know. At this point, I was like, "Ew, I don't like you." Because he's
Yeah.
not like, "Hey, really I don't feel comfortable with the sage. Like, if you're gonna sage, please put him somewhere where you can see him, and then like sage a few feet away from him." I don't understand what his thing is. I don't know. I grew up with incense, so like that shit doesn't bother me, and I don't think that there's any real issue with it, except sure proximity. But that doesn't really mean that it just sounded like he didn't want her saging the house at all, right? Not
Which
necessarily.
he clearly
Yeah.
doesn't, like in the scenes going forward. He's like, yes, she was. When Allie asks him about it, he's like, yeah, she was slaughtering goats out back.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is some clear 2010 racism, but like fuck.
Yeah.
And also Allie's like, "Why did you fire Martine?" And he's like, "Why did I fire Martine?" And you're like, was it a mystery? Are you trying
Yeah.
to believe it on Christy? Like you're clearly the one who did it.
Did the ghost fire her?
Did the yeah, did the ghost fire her? Yeah, it's I don't know. There's a lot to establish the fact that he's not that great.
Yeah.
So
He's
I was
gotta
like,
outdo
whatever.
Mika at being
Uh
a shitty gaslighting
oh
husband.
yes, he's working it up to outdoing Mika. And then at some point something happens and Christy gets frightened. I don't remember exactly what
Oh,
happens.
she gets frightened at like some pans falling, and then there's also some stuff going
Okay.
on with the pool cleaning like robot thing ends up outside of the pool every
Right.
night, and she's like, "Are you taking it out?" And they all say no. But
Yeah.
I feel like this isn't that weird. That this thing, it's like a big vacuum on a hose. And I feel like, yeah, it could end up outside of the pool if it's on all night and just going. Like, it doesn't seem like this would be a
Yeah.
big
It could be anything.
paranormal red flag to
Yeah,
me.
I agree. I agree that that was kind of a far-fetched paranormal thing. Um, but I do think that there was cause for her to feel a little freaked out, not just by that, by other things
Yeah.
happening. And I think the point here is Daniel's response. And in fact, later on, when they have people in the pool, like the next day or something, and Allie's boyfriend is there, and Daniel is like shooting the shit with this like teenage boy about how his wife is like exaggerating and being like emotionally, too much for him. It was like I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening, but this is like watching the toxic masculinity actively be passed from one generation to the next. What the fuck?
Yeah. And then he like gets Allie and Christy, like he tells them to look at something, and then he has it so that the
Oh
vacuum
yeah,
jumps out of the water and scares the shit out of them. And Christy is
yeah.
pissed.
Because eventually they do the thing that I never understand why it takes so damn long to do in these movies. They watch the frickin' footage,
Yeah.
and then they see that the vacuum has been like essentially creeping its way out intentionally, and then the footage looks as though you know it maybe something else is going on, but it could also be explained by this vacuum is just you know, uh, a little
Yeah.
ambitious.
It doesn't look super paranormal. It looks like a little weird.
Yeah. But yeah, so they see that footage and then he decides, okay, I'm gonna program it so that it's even more reactive and it jumps out of the pool. And yeah, I mean, it's an asshole thing to do. And he's like, what? Was
Yeah,
that
and
wrong?
Christy's like, you never take me seriously. And she's super pissed. And then they
Yeah.
go out, and Allie's boyfriend comes over, and they break out the Ouija board.
Yeah. Oh, right. Because Allie is like, ooh, if there's a ghost like lurking around, that's interesting. I want to like perform a seance. I want to see what's going on.
Oh yeah, she's been excited about the ghost the whole time. She's like, yeah, hell yeah, I want this
Yeah.
place to be haunted. So
Yeah. And at first you're like, okay, girl, the hell, like slow your roll. But then you realize later on when she's like, what if it's mom? And so then you're like, oh, okay, well, she's coming from a place of like grief and stuff. So I understand and I
I
give her a
think he
little
also
more
just
leeway.
thinks ghosts are
But yeah,
neat and probably doesn't like actually believe in
yeah,
them.
that, I mean, it could have gone either way. I think it could have been this possibility means that I can still contact my mother. I still have some connection to her, but also, she's a teenager, so maybe she is just like, wow, that's cool. But either way, I do think that the impulsiveness of let's just have a seance was lessened by the fact that there was some reason for it.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't like, oh my God, what are you doing? You're so dumb. I was like, oh gosh, take it easy. You don't know what you're going to get into. So yeah.
So Allie and her boyfriend are fucking around with the Ouija board, and they ask what it wants. The boyfriend starts spelling out pussy, and then it starts spelling out HUNT. And he's kind of freaked out because he doesn't think she did that, and he knows he didn't do that.
And
But
she thinks he
yeah,
did.
she thinks he did it, and she's like, "Oh, pussy hunt, ha ha," and he's like, "Okay, yeah, we can go in that direction." So he just kind of drops the fact that a ghost moved it, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll go in that direction."
Yeah.
But it's clearly spelling out
uh,
hunter, and they just are
right,
oblivious.
right.
And then that night, Allie's sleeping on the couch, and the TV comes on, and then a shadow like creeps over her, and then I think does she just wake up and then it retreats?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think she
she
saw.
like jolts awake when she's like completely covered in shadow, and the shadow like runs away like it got frightened.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about either because based on what we know about what's going on, this doesn't make sense, but whatever. But if this
Yeah.
is just along the lines of like demons just like to fuck with people, I guess I'll just accept that.
Yeah, they totally do. And they do in these movies, I think too.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's fine.
Then she hears a bang at the door, and she looks and there's no one there, so she goes outside and the door slams behind her and locks her out.
Right. And this is the second time that her parents have gone out, except this time there's no Martine, and so she's the one who's there taking care of Hunter while they're out. Um and so her being locked outside now means that Hunter is in the house by himself. And that's when the actual
Yeah.
creepy stuff starts happening.
Well, what happens here is that Hunter just gets up and wanders around the house, and then like he gets back to his crib like nothing ever happened. And I was just thinking of like Tommy Pickles, how he always escapes his crib, goes on a grand adventure over the whole house, and then gets back into his crib before anyone
And he
knows
keeps a
anything happened.
screwdriver
Yeah.
and he keeps a screwdriver in his diaper. Wait, but did you miss how he got out of his crib? He levitates.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean when I say, okay, now the first creepy thing happens. He slowly starts levitating until he's out of the crib. And it's weird because you think he's going to be levitated and like carried somewhere, but he isn't. He's just levitated and put on the ground, and then he starts wandering around the house.
Yeah, he just like goes on a little adventure. I guess I don't well, I don't know the story of this franchise, but this demon, I think it just likes to chill with Hunter. I don't even think it means him any harm. I think it wants to kill everyone else and hang
Maybe.
out with
And
Hunter.
it'll kill anyone that gets in its way
Yeah.
of trying to hang out with Hunter. But yeah, so Hunter goes to the basement and you have no idea what's going to happen, but then he poofs back into his crib.
Yeah. Then
And the parents come home.
yeah, they get home and they're shouting for her and they can't find her. and then she comes in shouting for them. And I think we find out where she was. Like, did she sleep outside or something?
No, it doesn't make any sense. And it's not clear how long she was outside. So she gets locked out. And then I would imagine if she's locked out, she walks around the house to find another way in or something. I'm really not sure. But the dad is going in on her for opening the door, seeing nobody, and stepping outside, which, yeah, I get it. That is a foolish thing to do. But he doesn't for 1 second consider her side of it.
Yeah. And they even look at the footage and he's like, yeah, whatever is the
Yeah.
wind. He was like, there's no fucking
Yeah.
wind
And at
ahead.
this point, I don't know. I'm just like, I get it. There's other footage you could look at, right?
Yeah.
What was going on after that? If they had looked, they would have seen Hunter freaking levitate out of his crib. So yeah. So then Chrissy, you can tell, is also freaked out by the things happening because she is like, oh my God, this is
But yeah, she's the
just
most
like,
freaked
yeah,
out.
because she's like, this is just like I remember as a kid. And you get a little bit more of that, like just a comment here and there. And you're like, okay, I want to know more about this. But eventually she talks to Katie.
Yeah. And and Katie's just like, yeah, just leave it alone. Like the more you talk
Yeah.
about it, the more it gets worse. Just
Yeah. But
ignore
she's
it.
kind
And
of
then
angry about it. She's like, stop talking about this. It
yeah.
will get worse. And I don't know. It's crazy because you're like, this isn't the same Katie that we have seen. So
No.
it's interesting to see this is her 2 months before the events that we saw.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's in this conversation or a later one, but she's basically like saying like, "Oh, you were always a drama queen when we were kids, and you always made a big fuss out of it all." And it's like, well, your house burned down and shit. Like shit went down. Maybe she was
Yeah.
not
Oh, yeah. And
overreacting.
she also drops the narrative where she has told Mika that she felt like something had been following her whole life, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
it's clearly not just Christy that this is happening to. Um, so it's interesting that she's telling Christy now this was always just a figment of your imagination, and you're always dramatic about it because she tells Mika, I've always had the feeling that something's been following me. So whatever. And this I will actually say I think this movie undoes a little bit of that narrative anyway. But
Oh, so Allie Googles the curse and finds out that demons like to exchange firstborn sons for bargains and such. And then she learns that or she says that Hunter was the first boy on that side of the family in like 30 years. Or since
yeah,
no, since the
she
1930s.
does her genealogy research like so fast. I was like, how does she find that out? That takes at least a 5 minute montage. But she just
Yeah.
she just boom comes up with it. She's like, I looked. He is the firstborn on Christie's side of the family since the 30s. I was like, okay, all right. I didn't see you at the library with your microfiches. Like, how do you know this?
It's outdated. She's got Google and shit.
In 2011, I don't think you could just Google a person's like family
I don't
lineage
know.
going back
Look
to
at the size of that
1930.
house. That there's probably shit on that
All
lineage
right,
online.
maybe. Well, according to the information she comes up with, the deal that is made is done in exchange for wealth. And so
Yeah.
she does say your grandmother, Christy's grandmother, may have done something. Why she decides it's the grandmother, I can only assume it's because the grandmother may have been wealthy and she thinks this is where her wealth came from. I don't know. There's a lot of like suggestions happening right now and nothing's really being corroborated. And also, it's kind of out of left field where she's like, demons sometimes do this. And you're like, okay. And is that the only thing they do? And why is it that you think that's the thing that is happening right now? I don't know. There's a bunch of different routes they could have gone down. And this is there's a bunch of different solutions that could have been presented for this, what's happening to them. And Allie just grabs onto the one that we assume happens to be right, which I thought was kind of a little far fetched, but whatever.
That's literally always how Googling the curse goes. You Google the curse, you find the first GeoCities website that references the monster you're up against, and then you just take that whatever it says at face value is the lore, and that's how you're
Yeah,
gonna
but those
solve the
monsters
problem.
are specific. This is generic. This is like demons.
Yeah,
Here's what demons do.
that's what demons do.
And they don't do anything else in this universe?
No, that's all they do. They trade baby
Okay.
boys for wealth and shit. They're like David Bowie in the Labyrinth. They just want the
Okay.
baby.
Okay. But so yeah, Allie finds out the solution. Except this doesn't seem to be it doesn't register with anybody else. This is just secret knowledge that she has.
Well, she's with her
Right? She doesn't go tell
boyfriend, and her boyfriend just
yeah.
doesn't
But
care.
she doesn't tell Christy. She doesn't tell her dad until it's way too late.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we see the sleuthing happening. We see the truth come out, but not really be acknowledged.
And then we cut to Christy back at home, and she's in the kitchen, and every cabinet just slams open at once, and she
Yeah,
just freaks the
that
fuck out. She's like, "What the
that
fuck?"
was the jump scare of this movie. I will
Yeah.
say that was what was in the trailers, and that was the thing I was waiting for, and I knew it was coming, and it still scared me every time that camera panned back to. Every time we cut to the camera that was on the kitchen, I was like, "Oh crap! Is this when it's going to happen?" And it was loud.
Yeah, it was quite loud and quite sudden.
Yeah,
I'll give it that. I would
yeah.
prefer
This
for
was
the big, like, jump scare moment of the film to be a little more consequential. Like in the first one, it's when the demon grabs her and bites her, and in this one, he's just like,
yeah.
"Who?"
Yeah. No, this definitely had no follow through, which was a little disappointing because we thought, okay, that's the moment when it confirms it's all real, right? Because when Katie gets dragged out of bed in the first movie, that's the moment that confirms it's real.
Yeah.
That's when when Mika is like, oh shit, because he's in the bed next to her and she gets pulled out of bed and dragged down the hallway, right? It's fucked up when it happens. But this one, you're like, okay, this is the big thing and nothing comes of it.
Yeah. And it's also not like that threatening. Like, yeah, it gets you, it startles you, but it's just
Right.
doors
Yeah, agree.
opening. That night, the dog Abby is like barking at something off screen, and then it just gets yanked off screen, and it like whimpers, and they come
Yeah.
down, and it's like it got flung across the room or something. But yeah, she's in rough shape, so they take her to the vet at like midnight. I don't know if you can do that.
There's 24-hour ERs for pets.
Are there?
So yeah, so
Okay.
they call a 20 is hell expensive, but they call a 24-hour vet and take her in.
And they keep her for the rest of the movie.
For the rest of the movie, yeah. So I actually realized at this point, I was like, damn, this demon is very good at getting rid of its like resistors, right? Because like Martine is there and she's blessing the house, and I mean, I guess the demon wasn't necessarily responsible for
Well,
that part.
yeah, it didn't even do anything to get rid of her. That was just Daniel being an asshole.
It didn't do anything. Yeah.
That was Daniel's demons, not the demon.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's an argument that the demon was responsible for Martine getting fired,
No,
manipulating people or something. There's a link there.
I don't think Daniel needed any manipulating. I think he's just a douche. He's a stupid gringo. If he didn't kick them out, they might not have all these problems right now.
Yeah. So then what? Okay. So then Chrissy, this happens during the day, right? When
Yeah.
all the cabinets fly open. And then she tells Daniel again and he doesn't believe her, and she's again with the not believing her when there's literal footage of this, but whatever.
Yeah, she shows him the footage, right?
I don't think she shows him the footage
Well,
of that.
that's the footage you show. That's the one that you can't be like, you can't say it was the wind when it's every cabinet in the kitchen in like 10 different directions.
Yeah. But then the next day, Allie's on the phone and she's talking to someone, I assumed her boyfriend, about the dog. And she's talking about how the dog had a seizure and how she's never had a seizure before. But Is this after Christy's home alone?
I think that night when Christy gets dragged all over the place. Yeah, I think that's that
Yeah.
night.
Okay.
Yeah, so the demon just like grabs Christy and just like tosses her all around.
Yeah. So she's in the room with her son and she hears something. And all of a sudden, she gets pushed out of the room and then dragged down
Yeah.
the stairs. And she is like, let me go. And you can see it's like pulling on her legs. And then it lets her go. She runs back upstairs to go get her son. And of course, she gets pushed out of the room again and dragged back down the stairs and dragged all the way into the basement. And the door
Yeah.
closes.
And then she just like stays up in her room alone, and the dad's like in a rush to go to work. He's like, "Yeah, mom's she's not feeling well, so she's just upstairs."
Yeah. And we saw before that she randomly walks out of the basement
Yeah.
unfazed. And then the next shot is she's just up in her room and he's leaving. And you're like, wait,
Yeah.
what? So what happened? There's no
Well,
like answer except now we know something's going
I mean,
on.
I feel like the answer was pretty obvious.
Well, yeah, but then like what now what?
Now we got a full-on possessed mom. Is now
Yeah,
what?
now she's possessed, and now what are we gonna do? Meanwhile, Allie is frightened, and Daniel's like, "I absolutely have to
Yeah.
leave. She's fine." And the smartest thing Allie says is, "Can I just take Hunter and go over? Can I take Hunter and go over to Brad's house?" And I'm like, "That's a great idea, because the things that you are freaking out about are happening at your
Yeah.
house." And you don't feel like you have anyone here. And she mentions Brad like telling his parents that, oh, he was going to come over for an hour. So obviously Brad lives with his parents and you feel like you need parental figures. And I don't know. It just felt like that's a great suggestion. Can I go stay with a person who's got parents there that can maybe help protect me? And he's like, no, you child stay here and keep an eye on wife who is maybe not well.
Yeah.
It was wild. I was just like, what the fuck are you doing, Daniel?
So Ellie finds like scratches on the basement door. She's on the phone with her boyfriend. She's like, yeah, the dog couldn't have reached up that high. And also it looks like letters or something.
Yeah.
I feel like
And I actually paused that
to read it.
and to read it. Yeah, why not? I was like, okay, I need to see what this is. And it took me a minute because it looked like MEUX. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything. I don't know what this is. But then I looked a little bit more and I'm like, oh, it's MEUS, which I had to dig back to my Latin studies. It means mind,
Oh.
which just goes along with the hunter being his possession or whatever. He's coming to get Hunter or whatever.
Well, I didn't take Latin, so I was like, those are some letters. I don't know what that means.
Yeah. I paused it because I was like, this has to be something. This can't be nothing.
Yeah, they didn't have me hooked enough to go deep diving.
Well, I saw an M and an E and I had to figure out the rest of it. But either way.
So then she goes upstairs and Christy's like perfectly still and she sees that she has a massive bite on her leg.
Similar to the bite that Katie had in the
Yes.
first movie.
Pretty much exactly like that. Because
exactly the
it's
same.
pretty much the exact same event. Get dragged all over the place, end up with a bite, then you're full on possessed. I guess let's just have the demons do it. They gotta bite you first.
Yeah, so
Oh, then Ellie shows the tape to Dad, and Dad like can no longer deny
finally
that there's fucking demons because there's like tape of his wife being dragged up and down the stairs by an unseen force.
Yeah. And so he tucks his tail between his legs and calls Martine.
Calls in the ringer.
And Martine, being the gracious and wonderful person she is, comes right over.
And so basically she says that their only choice is to transfer the demon and it has to be a blood relative.
Right.
So Dad's like, well, it's gotta be Katie then. And now he's like, what the fuck? No, that's Mom's sister. We can't do that. And Dad's like, well, my call, my house, my call with who this demon gets put into.
My wife, my son, my house.
Yeah.
Me. He I mean, the thing is, it's not an unreasonable decision to come to. However, he does not struggle with it the way you would expect him to.
No.
He was just like, all right, I'm sad, kind of, but that's how it's going to go. And in fact, he only second guesses it because Allie is like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? But yeah, no, this is the thing though. It's leading up to him doing something like this because that's the kind of person, that's the foundation that was laid for him to be that kind of person. So I was like, oh, that's why he's a dick, because it's leading up to him doing this, which in my mind, I was like, oh, this all falls into place. It makes sense.
Yeah. Then they're
I
like
don't know.
doing the ritual and he hears Hunter like in the basement. So we get this long scene of him just like crawling through this super crowded basement and the camera's like bouncing all over the place and
What the
or just like
hell?
tunneling
And it's
through
night
junk in night
vision. I
vision.
was like, this is
Yeah.
gobbledygook. What am I looking
Right.
at? This is an assault on my
And
eyeballs.
it goes on for
I was
so
just like,
long. Like
it goes on for so long and it doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, I could probably extrapolate what was going on, but at the time, I was just
he's
like,
just crawling through
yo,
junk.
fuck this.
He crawls through junk
Fuck
for
this
like
scene.
15 minutes and then he gets jumped by his wife.
Yeah. But also, is there any space in
No.
this basement? It's just stacks and stacks of shit. Like, what is
Daniel
this?
is
And
a
if that was
hoarder,
your
but so
basement,
far he's managed to keep it all in the basement. It hasn't escaped yet.
yeah, like you just have stacks and stacks of stuff in your basement. Why would you ever go into your basement? It just
He
makes
only
no
goes
sense.
in there to find
Like,
his son. It's the only time he's
oh
gone
my
down
gosh.
there.
Yeah. And Hunter's down there and you can see him doing creepy little baby stuff for some reason,
Isn't even
which
creepy.
doesn't make
It's
any
just
sense.
baby stuff. It's cute, except it's in night
It's
vision.
in night vision, so his eyes are
Yeah.
glowing. And then sometimes the camera is upside down, so you only see his feet. And it's not creepy at all, but the way it's shot makes it look creepy. And at one point, something flits past the camera, which you think, was that him? So it definitely is creepy kid adjacent for
Yeah.
sure. But again, I was like, okay, fuck this scene. Like, this is so annoying. I don't want to watch this anymore. So I was not really tracking every single camera adjustment. I really wasn't exactly following what happened. All I saw is Christy jumps out. She's got a million teeth, and then he slaps a cross on her chest.
Yeah. And then they like burn the photo of Katie that they found earlier, which I think is the photo we find in the attic in the first movie.
And it's interesting because that photo is burned when they see it in the first movie, correct? And so she thinks, she is like, how did this picture get here? This picture should never exist. But we see earlier that Christy legit just finds this picture in her stuff. So there isn't an actual supernatural explanation for why the picture exists, because Christy just finds it. But the explanation for why it ends up burned in their attic is really what the mystery is. Like, how did this end up burned in my attic? Whereas Katie is like, that picture shouldn't exist, and that's the big like dun dun dun. But that's not actually it in that movie. You find out now. You didn't know that at the time.
So I wonder, they must have come up with this after, right? Like this is a really, really good retcon. Because it makes way more sense now, and it didn't make much sense in the first. Like it was just kind of like magic, I guess.
Yeah. So I think the first movie was, I honestly think the entire second movie is retconned.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And you know this because there were several alternate endings, and only one of them could have led to this movie.
True.
And so here, let's finish up, because after this happens, they burn the picture, and then everything seems to be back to normal.
Well, technically, all of the endings could have led to because most of this movie is a prequel anyway.
Sure. But it could not have led to the ending of the movie. Yeah. So because we see here, we get the camera now shows Micah was killed October 8th.
Yeah.
And it's been a month since all this stuff has gone down. And Christy's back to normal and everything's
And
fine.
we get the footage from the first movie, like the whole first few minutes of Paranormal Activity 1.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
see
And
Mika's got the camera and he shove it in his girlfriend's face. And
yeah. And it's funny because she says, "What happened to your little one? I see you have a bigger camera now." Which is funny because that's exactly what he was kind of
yep,
envious of with Daniel. So you're like, "Oh, it's funny. He went out and bought a bigger camera because he was here and saw this camera." Um yeah, it leads up to all of that, and then rather than go through the first movie, it just says Micah was killed April 8th, October 8th.
yeah. Then we get to our current events with the back with Daniel, and he's on the couch, asleep on the couch, and in the corner we can see like into the kitchen or whatever. We see Katie there with the blood on her shirt, and she
Wait,
just
what?
did you not see
I did
that?
not
You
see her
didn't
in the
see her in
corner.
the court?
I didn't
Oh
see her in
my
the
God, you would
corner.
have shat bricks if you saw
No, I
her.
only saw her creep up behind him, and I was like, "Hey, where'd she come from?"
He like
Oh
she's there
man.
like in the corner and he wakes up and he looks behind him and then she's not there. And then he like settles back down
Oh.
and then she comes up behind him, grabs him and snaps his neck.
Okay, I saw that, but I just saw her come up behind him. I did not see her in the corner.
Yeah,
Oh my
first she's
god.
there and then he
That's
like
funny. I
he
might go back and watch
senses that
it.
someone's back there and he looks and there's no one there. Yeah, it was a good
Okay.
scare. But yeah,
Yeah.
also a brutal kill. Like this neck snap is not she like
Yes.
you see she has superhuman strength because she's just like picking him
She
up
picks him
like he
up.
doesn't weigh 220 pounds or
Yeah.
whatever he weighs.
She picks him up and just poof, spins
Yep.
his neck around.
And he's
It was
dead.
crazy.
And then upstairs, Christy's like, Daniel, is that you? And then Katie comes up there, the blood all over her shirt, and she's like, Katie? And she like uppercuts her or something into the camera, just like Mika. I
Yeah.
think
I was gonna say she does the same thing to her that she does to
well, she
Mika.
chucks Mika. I feel like Christy got the Shoryuken or something. Because it's like a close range uppercut or
Yeah.
something.
And then she picks up Hunter and leaves.
Yeah, and then it says that Allie found her parents when she got home from school, like that day or whatever, and
Yeah.
that's the
And
end.
then and Katie and Hunter have not been
Oh
found.
yeah,
Okay, so back to what I was saying about the entire movie being retconned. Yes. So had any of the endings where Katie died been the ending, she wouldn't have been able to come back and take Hunter and seemingly go on to continue the franchise. But I think there are other ways in which you can see that this was retconned. First, there's the picture thing, and I think that was an excellent explanation. But like I said before, Katie's Katie's explanation is that shouldn't exist,
yeah,
right? And so you're led to believe in the first movie, and I think that's probably was the intention at the time. Uh, this is a remnant of this thing that's been following you your whole life, kind of keeping its grasp on you. And now this thing that suddenly didn't exist. And I thought we were going to learn, like we learned in the play, that the demon was responsible for the fire, she was responsible for the fire, something like that. And maybe that's true anyway, and we just didn't get that information yet. But definitely the picture thing, and then the narrative in general, that this has been following Katie her whole life. Because now you know that isn't true. It was following Christy. And maybe there was some precognition that Christy was going to be the one to have the son, the first son in the family, and that's why it kind of attached to her. Who knows? But definitely, I think it's clear here that Katie's belief in the first movie was not, I guess that's the thing that was retconned, right? Or whatever she told Mika. Maybe you just accept it as something she told Mika to get him to sort of understand what was going on, giving him a tiny bit of the story without giving him the whole story of like whatever happened with Christy when she was little.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I feel like it makes sense for her to have that perspective anyway, because you spend your whole childhood with your sibling, and your sibling has a demon following them. The demon is more or less following you too. So like
Yeah.
She just has all these experiences with the demon. She doesn't connect that it's necessarily connected to
Right.
Christy and not
No, I
her.
get it. Um, but also I think that the fact that we never hear about Christy in the first movie is probably part of the whole retcon situation. Because if Mika already knew about Christy, then it makes sense for Katie to say, Christy and I used to have these things that scared us, or Christy used to be scared by this, and it was scary to me too. Like I think she would have brought Christy into the conversation at some point, especially since this is something they experienced together, instead of framing it as something that she went through when she talked to Mika about it. That's all I mean when I say I think this entire movie was retcon.
Oh yeah, well for
And
sure
I don't
was.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
a
well,
prequel pretty much
I
has.
mean, unless it was well planned. I think this is a really great retcon to be honest. I agree with you when you said that's a really good way to do it. Um and I liked the fact that it was this prequel. I didn't realize it was a prequel until, we got this is 60 days before.
Yeah,
And I didn't realize that the two movies were going to be linked up. I thought they were just separate things happening at the same time. I actually thought that the demon was like tormenting Christy and Katie at the same time. And I was trying to
yeah.
figure out how that was going to be connected in the end. And then you realize nothing was happening to Katie this time. It was all happening to Christy and then later on. So I liked that.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely thought there was a lot more meat on the bone story wise with this one because the first one really left me felt pretty lacking. Like there wasn't a lot of lore. It was just kind of like, hey, there's a demon and apparently it's following Katie and now it's possessed her.
Yeah, yeah. No, I liked it as a backstory. I did. I like backstories in general. I like the backstories that immediately link up with the thing you already know. And there wasn't a lot of guessing involved, which was nice because it wasn't like, remember that thing in the first movie? There was nothing to remember. There were only two characters. So it was like
Yeah.
so it was just like, oh, this is cool. This is connecting to the things that I'm already aware of, and there wasn't any mental gymnastics that needed to be done to put it all together.
Hey, you're erasing the guy who comes and says, "Oh, that this is a demon. I don't fuck with demons." Peace. He was a character. Yeah, he was good.
Yeah,
He was like the best part of that movie.
yeah. And I do think that one of the now that we know that the the events of the first movie are directly caused by the events of this movie, it's still weird there's never a time when Christy comes over, right? You would think she would tell her, but I guess she doesn't want her to worry because she knows that Christy has a history of like being very dramatic about this kind of thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there are some things where you're like, wait a minute, if she had a sister this whole time, it would be different, but I don't know, I think it
I
worked.
think she did mention a sister in the first movie. I think she was like on the phone with a sister at one point.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's fine. Yeah. So I don't know. I liked it. I thought it worked. I thought it worked really well. I don't know how I feel about Katie just taking the kid and leaving, but one of the things I did enjoy is the idea that this demon was owed this firstborn son. And so he was going to go through any means to get this firstborn son. And so he tries to do it through the mom, and that doesn't work. So then he gets transferred to the sister, and the sister is like, he's like, okay, well, I'm still here and I still have access to the kids. So I'm just going in, which I thought was really really great because the dad thought he was
Yeah.
doing something, right? He thought he was fixing the problem, but in the end, he was just kicking the can.
Yeah. It really seems like the way demons work in this universe is first they have to scare the absolute shit out of you, then they can drag you around and take a bite out of you, and then once they're in your body, they can just like murder whoever they want with superhuman strength. So Katie's probably just a killing machine at this point.
Probably. But they have to break down your constitution, right?
Yeah.
Because Katie was not so easy to get to that point. Katie was definitely a stronger person to start out.
Yeah.
Whereas Christy was like, "What? You heard the wind? Oh my god, I'm freaked out." So it didn't take very much. It didn't take very long for her to be possessed. I didn't think so.
Yeah. And plus Christy had like her stepdaughter was like sympathetic and also believed her, whereas Katie didn't have anyone. She just had fucking Mika's gaslighting ass alone in the house with her, and she still managed to put up a fight.
Yeah. Whereas Christy, not only did she have her sympathetic stepdaughter, she had Martine, who at the beginning was like, something's going on. Like she
Yeah.
had people actually saying, "You're not going crazy, woman." And then obviously Daniel being like, "Everybody listen to me. I am putting my foot down. No witchy stuff."
Yeah. Yeah, and the way that Mika wasn't like a douchebag in this movie, I think made me like Daniel even less than Mika.
Oh, yeah. Because Mika was just there for 4 seconds.
Mika has such a reputation as like an all-time bad horror boyfriend, but like,
Really?
yeah, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, he's the
Oh, I don't think
worst,
he's the
but
worst.
there's definitely worse, and I think Daniel is one of them.
Yeah, there's definitely worse. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I could probably find.
Bear.
Oh, yes, there's Bear.
Oh, we gotta watch Midsummer.
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched Midsummer.
That's such a good one. That's got an all-time bad boyfriend.
There's the girlfriend in Get Out.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. Mika is not the worst.
for sure. All right, we ready to rate?
Yeah, I am.
What are you gonna give it?
I think I'm gonna give this on its own. I maybe would give it a 2.5, but because of the continuity, I would give it a 3.5.
Yeah, on its own, I would probably give it a 2, but I'm giving it a 3. I like it made me like the first one better with the like new context, and it also makes me more excited to go forward because I want to see
Yeah,
what happens
I
with Katie and this baby. So, like before I was kind of ambivalent on the whole like this through line of this Katie story, but now I'm more
yeah.
involved.
I liked the two movies together for sure. And I remember liking the two movies and the first time I saw this one, and at the end being like, wow, it's all connected. And it was very satisfying. And I thought that that was the same experience I had this time too. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I like them both together. I think one definitely bolsters the other. But all right. Well, we will put Paranormal Activity 3 for another day.
Yeah.
What is our pouch of destiny pulling for us today?
My Bloody Valentine from 2009, starring my boy Jensen Ackles.
Okay. Isn't that also a David Boreanaz movie?
Maybe?
Oh, I think it is. Okay. I didn't know Jensen Ackles was in that movie. Okay.
Yeah, you watched the original, right? That was on the watch-a-thon.
Yes. The original My Bloody Valentine was on our watch-a-thon. And I have not seen the remake, so I'm interested to see it. You know, I've also not seen anything else that Jensen Ackles has been in.
Have you not made it that far into The Boys yet?
No, I have not made it that far into The Boys.
Uh,
And now that you've told me it has a lighting issue, I don't know how enthused I am to continue. But
I mean, not that
speaking
much of it takes place at night, so.
Okay. I was going to say, speaking of lighting issues, that's the one thing I didn't mention here is that, again, this movie had lighting issues. And there were some really interesting scenes where it was a shot of the crib, Hunter in his room in his crib, and the mirror reflected. And in the mirror, you could see the opposite side of the room where the camera was that you couldn't actually see. So it was basically giving you another vantage point. And I couldn't make out anything in that space. And I feel like there were times when Hunter was looking in that area for maybe something moving or something, and I couldn't see anything. So I was annoyed by that. And then Christy at one point walks around and she's carrying him and she's looking because she may have heard some noises. And she doesn't turn on any lights. Like it's dark in the house and she doesn't turn on the lights. And I just think this is so unrealistic and obnoxious because I cannot see what's happening on the screen. Anyhow, that's my rant about that.
All right, until next time.
Till next time. This podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike 4.0 International License. For additional information and other media content,
visit theferalthread.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week.
You sound like a Mars Attacks Martian right now.